In 2019, I was a guest on the Jessica Tai podcast. She invited me on to talk about how I lost 100 pounds with keto and fasting. And one of her questions stopped me in my tracks. Jessica, have you ever been an emotional or binge eater? My first reaction was, nope, never had the issue. Then I really thought about my answer. Because looking back at my yo-yo dieting history, what the heck was I talking about? I mean, how can any woman who is constantly losing 20 to 30 pounds only to regain it all back not have an experience with binge eating? I think my brain immediately went to binging and purging, as in eating a whole lot of food as fast as you can, only to throw it up. And thankfully, that isn't a part of my dieting past. Probably because I sound like a dying cat whenever I do vomit. But binging on junk food? Heck yes, I've done that. I was a binging champ by age 12. I can still remember walking 3 long blocks to Walgreens with my stepsisters and each of us buying a full-size bag of Doritos as a snack. Nope, not this one, this one. That's the one that was meant for a family of 4 to share for an entire week. But each of us demolished the entire bag in just one sitting. And I didn't get any wiser as I got older either. There's been plenty of times where I mindlessly ate my favorite junk foods straight from the bag until it was empty. And more often than not, all of these binging episodes took place smack dab in the middle of another restrictive diet. Now that I've given up yo-yo diets for good, I can safely say that binge eating is no longer something that I struggle with. And while this isn't a habit that I was able to kick overnight, there are some key lessons I learned that helped me ditch emotional eating for good. So let's talk about the steps I took to finally end binge eating forever and how you can use these strategies to help you gain control of stress eating too. Be sure to watch until the end, since I'll show you the simple 4-step process my clients use to stop binge eating dead in its tracks. This is the strategy that can help you finally quit emotional eating forever. The first trick you can use to quit binge eating before it starts is to fill up on nutrient-dense foods while paying special attention to the essential proteins and fats that your body requires. Whenever you don't make protein a priority in meals and snacks, your body sends out hunger signals until it gets what it needs. And if you're in the habit of reaching for another bag of empty calories every time hunger strikes, then your body will just keep sending out hunger signals and you'll continue to overeat. The same thing is true when you don't get enough healthy fats. When fat goes too low, this can throw your hormones into a tailspin, making you feel weak, tired, and just plain bad. And what do most of us do when we feel bad? We eat junk food to feel better. Not eating enough nutrient-dense foods will also send your cravings through the roof. This is partially due to the fact that the more often you eat your favorite junk food, the more often you'll crave it. But it's also because your body is screaming that it needs real nutrients and it needs them now. Unfortunately, most people misinterpret these signals as a hunger emergency, so they throw down whichever calorie bombs they can get their hands on. So instead of allowing yourself to snack on mindless calories that only make you hungrier, it's important to build a diet that's made up of somewhere between 80 to 90% real food. And while some women can get by with just eating healthier, most people will need to make a concerted effort to eat enough protein and also to make sure that you're getting at least 25% of your calories from healthy fat. When you focus on eating the right foods instead of following fad diets that only work by cutting out entire food groups, your body will scream for much less of the wrong foods that are keeping you stuck, which will go a long way towards stopping out of control emotional eating. The second way to get emotional eating under control is to get digestion under control. Symptoms like bloating, gas, heartburn, acne, constipation, and diarrhea aren't just signs of a bad time. They're also signs that your digestion can use some work. And while getting more nutrients is important, if your body doesn't have the ability to break down what you eat into usable nutrients, then no amount of healthy food is really all that useful. If you're experiencing any of the symptoms I just mentioned, the good news is there are steps you can take to clear these up. I too experienced every single one of these symptoms for decades, only I never tied them to constant yo-yo diets and endless binge eating. But once I took the steps to improve digestion, not only did I get rid of a lot of embarrassing and painful health problems, but I was able to bring my uncontrollable emotional eating under control. And that's because my body was finally breaking down what I ate into nutrients that I was able to use instead of rotting and fermenting in my digestive system. If you want to learn the steps I use to finally improve all of these health symptoms for good, drop a comment below and I'll send you the link to the free digestion course. This is the same free course that's helped me, along with hundreds of my clients, finally get a handle on digestion, which can prevent emotional eating for so many. If you stumbled upon this video while searching for the next fad diet that guarantees quick weight loss, that could be the exact reason that you're binging. Most of the popular diets like low carb, keto, low fat, paleo, and even vegan, these diets work because they require that you cut out most of your favorite foods. Some of them even require that you skip entire macronutrient food groups for faster weight loss. While I agree that you'll make much better progress when you ditch the most heavily processed foods for more real food, for many people, the second you tell yourself that something's off limits, then all you can think about are the potato chips that you can't have. And with the physiology of it all, there's only so long that you can avoid these cravings until you give in and end up binging on all of the potato chips you can get your hands on. And while you're at it, maybe throw in a few chocolate donuts and a sleeve of Oreos just for good measure. As much as we all want to believe that certain diets work miracles because they restrict entire food groups, they're not quite as miraculous as their gurus lead you to believe. Sure, you can lose a lot in those first few weeks of trendy diets like keto or low carb, but would you stick to these miserable low carb plans if you learn that most of what you lose at the beginning is actually just water? Because it is. Whenever you drop carbs to lose weight quickly, you're losing the water that helps store glycogen. That's why when you end up binging a few days in, you regain everything you just lost. That's all of the water that comes along with eating extra carbs. Eventually, you'll end up losing the same as you would with pretty much any other diet as long as calories and protein are equated. Now, that's not to say that you can't lose fat on a low-carb diet, because plenty of people do. But since true fat loss comes down to a caloric deficit, no matter which diet you follow, if cutting out your favorite foods results in binging on everything that you just made off limits, then the diet isn't right for you. A better approach to fat loss is to strategically eat the foods you love while still getting consistent results. While I prefer a flexible diet where I track macros, maybe something like paleo or keto will help you abide by a calorie deficit better. But don't feel like you have to follow a diet that cuts out all of your favorite foods just because some guru tells you it's the only way to lose weight. Having been there and done that with pretty much every diet in existence, I can tell you that they all work just so long as you're eating less than you burn. But you'll never eat less calories than you burn if the diet you follow leads to constant binging. So if you're not hopping on a trendy diet and learning which foods are safe and which foods you have to avoid, how the heck are you supposed to lose weight? Well, you can eat the foods that you love while tracking calories and macros instead. When you eat in a strategic way and develop discipline around tracking every meal, this actually leads to more food freedom, and more food freedom is helpful when it comes to avoiding emotional eating. And that's because when you commit to tracking and you start the day with more nutrient-dense food, then you could strategically save room for some of your favorite treats. And for most women, occasionally fitting in one donut into your macros while still reaching your goals is enough to keep you from eating all of the donut. Making tracking part of my daily routine has saved me from plenty of binge eating sessions. Looking back, there are plenty of times where I have a few squares of dark chocolate and I definitely feel like I could have a few more. But since there might not be room in my macros, I just remind myself that I need to wait till tomorrow. And developing the discipline of tracking while using the strategy of saving treats for the end of the day helped me shed 40 pounds this past year, even when nothing else seemed to work. And a big part of that is I no longer feel the need to binge on the foods that are off limits, mostly because nothing's off limits. If there's something that I really want, I just find a way to fit it into my macros. So there you have the 4 steps I took to end emotional eating forever. And while I didn't form all of these habits overnight, when you keep working to develop these habits, eventually they just become easy and part of your daily routine. But what can you do in the meantime to stop emotional eating in its tracks? I developed a 4-step routine for my coaching clients that help get them out of the urge to binge eat right on the spot. So the next time a craving strikes, follow this routine and make sure you come back and let me know how it worked for you. The first step is you want to bring yourself into a calmer state. So you can either meditate for a minute or you could practice Dr. Huberman's psychological sigh. Either of these practices will help bring you into a calmer state. To practice the physiological sigh, take 2 inhales through your nose, followed by an immediate long exhale through your mouth. And you can do this a few times to see if that helps. You just want to go The second step is to then drink a glass of water with a little bit of sea salt, and this is going to help quench all of those false hunger that is often caused by dehydration. Now, if you're still experiencing the urge to binge, then step 3 is to eat a healthy alternative to whatever you're craving. Since it's always best to fill up on protein and veggies, maybe try a few ounces of meat and some veggies. This is a great low-calorie, high-nutrient snack that can help you eat less during the rest of the day. Now, you may be able to move on with your day after just repeating steps 1 through 3, but if not, then move on to step 4. And that's to do 1 minute of exercise. So this could be running in place, a minute's worth of push-ups, a minute's worth of jumping jacks, or something else that is going to get your heart rate up. And once you complete all 4 steps, take a minute to assess how you feel. If the craving went away, then just move on with your day. But if you still feel the urge to eat whatever food you're trying to avoid, then eat it. Only don't allow yourself to binge eat straight from the bag. Measure out a small serving and add it to your macros first. Then just be fully aware of how you feel while you're eating the food and enjoy the few bites that you do commit to. As long as you remain fully present as you eat the treat and you consider the consequences of overdoing it, you should be fine to eat anything you're craving without turning into a full-out emotional binge. Hopefully, these life-changing strategies that help me ditch emotional eating forever will be just as helpful for you. Now, speaking of helpful habits, check out this video where I talk about my top 5 1-minute habits that help me lose 40 pounds, yes, even after 40. And if you're inspired and ready to speed up fat loss progress, check the pinned comment. I'll add the link where you can set up a free coaching call to see if one-on-one coaching is right for you.